Good afternoon. Welcome to the Building and Grounds Committee meeting. Today is October 14th, 2024. The time is 4:32 p.m. Before we get into the agenda, if you've noticed, Mr. Bell is up here today instead of the regular committee members.
How did I get here?
Other committee members had a prior engagement and were unable to make it. He was brought onto the committee today by the chair, and so he will be acting in those folks' place today. We have an agenda before us. How would we like to proceed, Mr. Bell?
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the agenda as presented with the exception of Agenda Item 10, the Del J. Howard Diesel and Data Science Labs renovation.
Second. There's a motion before us. Any questions, comments? All right, we have a motion before us. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, I will turn it over to Dr. Hummer.
All right, thank you for Mr. Chair. Greatly appreciate that. So we have 5 items for you this evening. First, we are going to discuss our running item of our capital projects update with Mr. Davis, as well as our CAP update with Mr. Kenny in regards to our projects over at James Wood High School and some other projects as well. We're also going to provide you an update with our weapons detection. We want to have some updated information we want to provide you there in regards to our next steps with our safety procedures as a school division. We also have two general items with our contract awards. We do have quite a few under there, but we have 2 that we're recommending go to the full board for approval. The first is the Omnitrax request for additions of scales at the facility services site. As you all know, that we do lease out some of that property to Omnitrax, so we have an additional request there for you to take to the full board for approval. And then we have a series of contract awards as well that we have up for your consideration for moving to the full board. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Goodwin and his team. We can move forward from there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Hummer. Good evening, members of the committee, members of the board, and everyone that's here to thank you for the opportunity we have to spend with you this afternoon talking about building and grounds. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite Mr. Davis to come forward to the podium to talk about the capital projects update, and he also will be covering the CAP update as well, so thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. Committee Member, Dr. Hummer. So let's start off by some capital project list highlights. Some of these are recaps. Support facilities west, the building fire alarm system. Still waiting for the building permit to get cleared on that. We don't have it yet. We did do some preliminary work on that to try and get ahead of the workflow, but we're still waiting for the permit on that one. Exterior door replacement, still waiting for the final shipment to come in on both of those jobs there. I don't have a good date on that, but it should be within the month. We should be able to clear those out. So, projects in progress, James Wood Middle School, the home field bleachers. All the footers have been poured. They're done. We're still on schedule for this one, early November. The asphalt was supposed to start today. They got pulled on a VDOT project, so we're going to start on Wednesday with the asphalt around the track. So we should be pretty good there. So here's some notable projects that we're going to start working on this year. We cleared out a lot from last year. This is what this year is going to be. Millbrook asphalt overlay, the stadium lot, the teacher lot, and we're going to put a drain in where the students park out there. Redbud asphalt overlay, it's a teacher parking lot. Armel asphalt overlay, teacher parking lot, bus loop. Sharando High School boiler replacement, Apple Pie plumbing fixtures, Bass Hoover interior painting, James Wood roof replacement. It says partial replacement. We've already done some there already. This will finish out the building over there. Apple Pie roof replacement. It is a full roof replacement. A lot of these are in design and being bid right now. So 3 more on here. Boiler replacements at Apple Pie, Stonewall, and a chiller at Bass Hoover. All in design with RRMM. They're the engineer designing all these. So this is something fun that we're going to do, but a necessity. We call it Snowplow Prep Day. We've got all of our facilities, so you guys and anybody out there doesn't know, the facilities department plows all the snow at every one of our schools. We have 25 buildings that we take care of, and we'll do this on every snowstorm. So on October 22nd, we're going to plow up every truck. We're going to put snow plows on all of our vehicles that we have. We're going to put all of our salt trucks and salt spreaders and bobcats and get everything and make sure we're ready to go for the summer, or for the winter, sorry. Some stats, we got 25 plow trucks, 3 salt spreaders, 2 bobcats, 2 tractors, 22 tons of bulk salt that we'll have. A dedicated plow master. The plow master is the individual that will coordinate all of this throughout the snowstorm, and an awesome facilities team ready to go. So we're excited about this. We'll get some pictures for the day and make a fun event out of it. So good time. Talk about the CAP a little bit here. This is a reoccurring slide. I've had this slide up here before, but just kind of go through it a little bit. When we look at capital asset planning, these are some of the ways we look at what project needs to be done. Life expectancy, the efficiency of the cost to operate, careful examination of recent repairs. Does it cost more to repair it versus replace it? Evaluate the impact, safety, doors, windows, safety items, things like that. Student, staff, and comforts, where all the boilers and chillers come from. And evaluate the impact of learning opportunities. So that's sort of how we're looking at this. You can flip to the next slide. So here's preventive maintenance projects that we're asking for this year. Plumbing fixtures at Armel, playground and track resurface at Jameswood High, plumbing fixtures at Sharando, parking lots at Indian Hollow and Bass Hoover, NRAP, interior walls. Indian Hollow and Bass Hoover, you notice a difference in cost there. Indian Hollow is a little bit of a reconfiguration of the parking lot as well. It's not just an asphalt repair overlay. So we're going to do a little bit more there. The next slide shows our CAP in prioritized for what we're going to be asking for as we continue through. Top 2, I think, are pretty important. 2 fire protection systems, Millbrook and Jameswood. And then we just start going down through the list: water heaters, HVAC, athletic playgrounds. I think maybe we've overlooked some of our playgrounds over the years, so I think it's important that we get them on here now. And then we start getting into some other projects: electrical, lighting, LED retrofit. You'll see 5 of them on there at $478. I think we can do better than that, but we had to put a number on it if we don't get a partnering company with us. I think we can do better than that. And then several other projects as we get going. So I think that was it. Mr. Goodwin? Yep. So do you guys have any questions on any of this?
Do.
Good.
You have any questions, though?
I do.
Okay.
Actually, back to the first slide.
Sure.
Previous.
One more back.
Yes, please. Keep going. Keep going. Like the very first slide.
Keep going. 2 more. 1 more. There you go.
There. So the permit approval, what is, that's the Support Facilities West, Bright Futures. What's the holdup on the permit?
It's down in the city, and the city has it. We have no authority or leverage to push those along. We're just like everybody else.
And is it taking a standard amount of time?
Yeah,
Okay, so it's not like overdue.
correct. We did all the schools first on these, and the support facilities was our last one that we submitted in.
I see. Okay.
So no out of the ordinary time frame. Just waiting for it.
All right. And then what surface are you putting down on the playgrounds or looking to put down on the playgrounds?
Mulch.
Just regular wood mulch?
Yeah,
So not like a rubberized surface or anything?
Just
'cause
mulch.
That would be a lot more expensive, I'm sure.
it would be, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Good question.
All right. As far as the 2 schools with Bass Hoover and I believe the other one was Indian Hollow, the asphalt. To what extent are we repairing? Are we resurfacing? Are we patching? What's going on over there?
So Bass Hoover is a full, we'll mill the transitions of all the curb gutter and transitions into the roadway and sewer tops and all that kind of stuff, and then we'll overlay the whole thing. So the whole entire parking lot. We'll patch base if it needs to be, but we'll go do the whole entire lot. Same thing at Indian Hollow, except we're going to expand the back end of it. get a little bit more parking. If you were to go there, you'll see people parking in the bus loop in the grass, a lot of people parking in the grass, making mud, things like that. So it needs more parking there. So we've got a preliminary drawing on it now. We got to investigate it, make sure that's what we're going to do. Eventually, you guys will see that.
We have to tap into more curb and gutter. in
We're
those
going to
parking lots?
expand the curb and gutter, yeah.
Okay, so have to tap into curb and gutter, and obviously then we'd be doing drainage as well. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to try and limit the drainage as much as possible for permit reasons, but if we got to, we got to. So,
All right, cool.
Mr. Chair, if I may. I wanted to also mention that Dr. Hummers directed us to take a hard look at Bass Hoover at the parking situation there. We've had a number of families who've indicated a difficult time making it around. We have some poor soil on the edges of that parking area as well. So Mr. Davis is aware of that. Mr. Lee is talking with me about working with one of our vendors to make sure we get a good close look at that parking area so that we can make improvements, because as you know, that school's also heavily populated, so they have a lot of cars that go in and out of there, and it's definitely needs some improvement. So we're thinking that that dollar figure hopefully will help us make the improvements that Dr. Hummers asked us to consider.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the Bass Hoover parking, are you looking to reconfigure or redesign, or is it just to repair or make it more stable?
We're not certain yet. We're going to take a look at that with Mr. Lee's help. We're going to take a look with our task order vendor to see what the best solution is. But I think that we would say that those parking lots, that the spaces now are probably need to be expanded at some point in time.
And the way they have the median in the. I mean,
Right, it's not standard,
it's
so we want to have
ridiculous.
them take a look at that as
Yeah.
well. So that's why we feel like we need to have the task order vendor, Pannoni, most likely work through that with us to give us some input so that we can get the most spaces possible, but also try to prevent the need to drive off of the parking surface, because that's creating lots of other issues for people.
Well, it's wetlands back there, that's why.
It is very wet if you go off the edge there, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's literally wetlands, like there's marsh,
Yes,
so.
it's a interesting place, but we do have that as one of our top priorities.
Mr. Chair, if I may add to that as well, we're working with the Sheriff's Office and Mr. Conlon as well to see if there's any sort of traffic patterns that we can make some adjustments for. So we're trying to consider all options here. Not sure if we're going to be able to make those. As Mr. Goodwin just mentioned, that school is over capacity, so that is one of the issues that we're running into over there. So we're considering all options. Thank
Noted.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. All right, now I'd like to welcome up Mr. Conlon, the Safety and Security Division Administrator, to talk about the weapons detection system update. Thank you, Mr. Conlon.
Members of the board, Dr. Hummer, as you know, you granted us permission to move forward with this project. We've recently received 8 additional weapons detection units, with 4 more on the way that we purchased under a grant that we received. So we will be able to have 5 weapons detection systems at each high school moving forward. That does not include the 2 that we have at Dial J, and we'll also have one at NREP in the future. But as I said, the last 4 we're waiting on receiving. We did purchase those with grant funds. So as soon as the units for Sharando and James Wood have been put in place, we're still waiting for 3 more for James Wood. This week we'll be placing the ones in Sharando. They won't be turned on until the staff is trained. The students will be asked to move through them without them being on, just to get used to the process. And we'll repeat that process at James Wood. And then at the given times that we've discussed prior, we'll have those turned on. As I said, we'll be looking at operating teams at each high school. The teams will be trained prior to operation. Parents will be notified of their implementation as well as what the expectations for students are. You know, we're not going to tell students that they can't bring things to school. We'll just notify them that they're going to slow them down. So that they'll cause alerts. Sorry. Next slide. So the plan was mid-October for Sharando. We'll probably be looking towards the last week. Maybe we'll get them on next week. We'll see. It really depends on the schedule there. And then Same thing with James Wood, we're looking at mid-November. Any questions?
Yes, actually, if I may. Mr. Chair, thank you. So you're saying there's going to be 5 at each of the high schools, is that correct?
Correct, sir.
And Millbrook already has their 5?
They do.
Okay. And the grant funding, that's where it's from, it's all grant funded?
Not all, it wasn't all grant funded. Some came out of our budget.
Okay, how many?
I believe 5.
So 5 we're paying for. And then, do we have a contract with a vendor for upkeep and that sort of thing, or is it sort of as needed?
So up until this point, as far as I'm aware of, they don't require upkeep. They have,
Updates or anything like that?
well, that's all live.
Okay.
We do that. That stays with the system.
Okay, all right. So that if they break or if something happens to them, we can take them back to the vendor and
Yeah.
they'll fix
They'll
them.
send someone out.
And we have to pay them directly. It's not like a service contract that we have with them.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And do these 5 cover all the entrances and egresses,
They don't cover all, they cover the ones that we use for our students.
just the ones for the students?
Yes.
So not the ones for the teachers?
No, we don't ask our teachers to go through.
Okay. Thank you.
Couple questions. One, I know that you guys are doing a fantastic job of rolling these out and getting people trained up at the school level. I haven't seen them at any of the sporting events yet. I mean, I could be missing some of them if we are doing that. But kind of wanted to see if we had a timeline or any kind of anything that we're doing as far as training teachers for graduations, for sporting events, anything like that. Are we rolling those out? Is there a plan to roll those out for that?
So presently, there's a plan to get them into the high schools. I want to get the students adjusted to them first. I think it's probably pushing too much on our staff and our parents to ask the students and the parents to try and figure it out all at once. Additionally, when you look at sporting events, it's not just our parents. Now we're bringing parents from out of town in. So it requires a lot of notification and a lot of planning. It is in our future. We are looking at it. I know that we've definitely discussed looking at graduation. I don't know that we'll get to, I don't believe we'll see it in the football season this year, but we will definitely see it within the next year in our sporting events.
Good deal. Lastly, I guess this would be a question for Dr. Hummer, and I know that Dr. Erskine would be asking this if he was here. Excuse me. Is there, have we gotten anywhere with talking with staff as far as stipends or anything for manning these weapons detection systems?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've had conversations with Mr. Conlon, Mr. Goodwin, as well as some of our high school principals, and I followed up with Dr. Erskine as well. And this is going to be a role and a duty for these individual teachers. So we'll make sure it stays within their hours of their required time to be at school. We're also looking at potentially adding a stipend for somebody to oversee the actual program. We did some research and talked to other divisions that roll this out and work through this, and that's what most of them are doing. And then please, Mr. Conlon, Mr. Goodwin, please chime in here if I missed anything. So we're currently looking at a stipend for somebody to oversee that, and I think the principals would really appreciate it because this is a lot of work to make sure that we have everybody situated in the right spot, to make sure that there's coverage at each of these sites if somebody is out, and how to find the sub and then set up and take down. It's a lot of oversight. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. And then, of course, as with everything else, because we want to be very careful, because there are duties and responsibilities that all of our staff have, that if it goes above their hours of required time to be, then that's where we would probably kick in some compensation. But the stipend right now would just be for that. We're still working out some other areas. That's not finalized, Mr. Chair, but that's one of the things we're currently looking at. So, Mr. Conlon, Mr. Goodwin, if I missed anything or if you want to add anything, please
No,
do.
I think that's exactly what
I
we
would
discussed.
just add, we appreciate the accolades for Mr. Conlon and his team, but our schools have done an amazing job, and the staff and the students and their families in helping us to implement this process. It's been a large task, and as you know, each one of our schools offers a different complexity. Dowell J was first, which is very different than Millbrook. Millbrook's very different than Sharando, and Sharando is very different than James Wood High School. So we appreciate the extra effort and work that the staff has put in and the leadership at each of our schools, and look forward to the time of implementation to be shorter, And I just would echo Dr. Hummer what you said. We hope that this will be within the bounds of ordinary duty. Obviously, there's an adjustment period, but once that is passed, we will take into consideration whatever we need to make sure we compensate folks accordingly. So, yeah, they've done a good job. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, what is the range of the stipend that you're looking to provide to that teacher? Like, I don't expect you to know exactly,
We're
but,
looking between $500 and $1,000 for the year.
okay.
We're basing it on the amount of work it's going to take, and so that's what was going to be a starting point for us.
Okay. And then my other question is, you mentioned this is a shorter timetable than what we originally planned. Is that correct, Mr. Goodwin?
In terms of the rollout for the
Yeah.
schools,
Yes.
I think after September 11th, we have been on as quick a time frame as we can
So
be. Yes, sir.
that was my point. This is in
Yes,
direct
sir.
relation to the number of threats that we've had to our school system, which is why
Yes.
we're doing this as quickly as we're doing it.
Yes, sir, that's true.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Bell, I'm sorry, I just realized I misspoke. So we actually paid for 9 CHIA units with grant funding.
Oh, okay.
So I
Thank you.
apologize for that.
No, that's fine.
By the way, if I could add as well to what we've just talked about, one of those pairs is in each one of the offices. So folks who do come through the main office, it's stationary. Mr. Conlon, correct me if I'm wrong about that, but we wanted to make sure that there is a pair that's stationary. So when folks come through our office, they do have to go through that to enter the school.
Parents, you're talking
Correct.
about.
Anyone who goes through the main office entrance, it's there. Yes.
Okay.
That's our plan. So yes, that's what we
Gotcha.
have in place now.
Yeah, I know that we don't ask the teachers to do this, but I don't know if this is something we should do. And I'm not saying that our teachers aren't trustworthy, but human beings are human beings. And I don't know if that's something that you guys have talked about, having our teachers included in having them go through or not go through. I know it's probably a sticky wicket for that, but you would also have to probably get staff to man it that early, much earlier in the day.
So I think that, number one, we haven't seen it anywhere else and within the United States that they're asking teachers.
Okay.
I mean, we're looking essentially, you're asking the caretakers of our children
Yes.
and telling them, well, we don't really trust you completely. And I understand why you would ask that. I mean, obviously that anything can happen, but we have to entrust the people that we entrust our children with.
No, I understand. I just wanted to ask the question to make sure the folks listening understood why. So, thank you.
Dr. Hummer, you can correct me if.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. I just, like I said, probably some people are wondering why teachers aren't going through it. So that's how I pretend I know stuff. I just say it's for the audience, so, you know.
Any other questions?
Good to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Kinney to come up and talk about what we do have now in terms of information for the Omnitrax request for the addition of a scale at our facilities services property. Thank you, Mr. Kinney.
All righty. Dr. Hummer, Mr. Chairman, committee. Give you a brief update on the Omnitrax negotiations to expand the lease or just expand the use of the lease down there. Omnitrax first contacted us a couple months ago, maybe by 3, to see if they could put a scale, an in-ground scale on site there. You see that area that says to be paved, the transload area to be paved, that would go approximately right where that arrow is pointing right now. They would incur all costs. Them and their Carry Transport is the group that they have partnered with. And of course, they are the rail company. The bulk product comes in on the rail cars. It gets offloaded on the semi-trailers and goes off-site. Currently, what they have to do is use the scale over at the Flying J truck terminal over there on off of Interstate 81. They have scales over there. They load, try to get it close. They have to go over there to see if they're over or under on their fluid weight. Then they come back again and either offload or put on more. So you see the double trips there. So they've requested, can they expand and put a scale in? So the negotiations are done. They're just now in legal, try to formulate the document to lease to capture everything that we said. You would see a slight increase in our lease amount. We incur no cost with this. The wording in the lease will be such that it'll revert back to the way they found the land when the term of the lease is up. either in the 10-year period that they're going to be there. And they'll make some improvements. They'll have to submit a new site plan down to the county to show the locations. So just minor changes, but it is nice that they had the request, and should cut down on the amount of truck traffic that we see coming in and out of the site down there. And I think it's a good win for everyone down there. So that's pretty much it. I don't have any much more than that on there. So if anybody's got any questions concerning that, I'd be glad to answer them best I can.
Any questions? Nope. I just want to say I went out there the other day and got to see this, and yeah, I mean, it's a win for everybody, so I'm all about it.
Good stuff. Thank
That
you.
makes sense. Complete sense.
Alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. At this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Chapman to come up, our Purchasing and Accounts Payable Supervisor, to talk about a number of contract awards. Thank you.
All right, committee members, Dr. Hummer. At this time, we are looking for a motion to recommend to the full board a contract award to 3 separate vendors for commissioning, geotechnical, inspection and testing services. You'll see these on 2 separate slides on the presentation. They were all from the same RFP. We just have them separated out by the specific service that the vendors are providing. So first is ECS Mid-Atlantic LLC, and they are going to provide the geotechnical inspection and testing services. And then we have Smart Building Strategies LLC and SETI and Associates LTD providing the commissioning services.
I'm sorry, I'm obviously brand new at this, and I don't mean to keep people from leaving, but what is it that they're inspecting and why?
This is Kevin's. I'll let him clarify that for you.
Problem. On the first, on ECS.
I asked this question close.
Oh,
in the
okay.
Meeting earlier.
Okay, good question, and, but it is kind of a broad statement. Geotechnical testing and inspections, we use them from a broad spectrum. They fill in everything that the local county inspection agency does not provide, which is everything from welding inspections to inspecting the reinforcement of the concrete, to testing of the concrete, soil samples, everything that comes in there that has to on a construction project. So you would see this pretty much, the county runs an approved third-party inspection group out of there. So certain, they're one of those people that does third-party inspection. Our county just does not provide a full array of services for inspection on these type of projects or any type of residential or commercial project.
These are for cap projects, is that it? Or
This can be used for some of the cap projects. Yeah, it's all our capital projects, like we're doing the 2 projects we just currently was on, Indian Hollow, James Wood. We use them for that. You could also use them for the cap projects that facilities is using down there. They'll come into play on things like that. So yes, it fills in, this is the gap stuff that has to be done for all the inspections. And it's quite an array of for everything from asbestos inspections to those type of things, and testing, and they have their lab, and they provide the lab services and what have you for it.
and how long is the contract awarded for?
Back to,
The original term of the contract is awarded through June 30 with 4 contract renewals available.
Okay, so from now till June 30th, it's 250,000, and then for the next, if we renew it, it'll be another 250,000, well, maybe go up, right?
Yeah, the estimated annual amount. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And just to clarify, when we had this discussion earlier, I've never seen $250,000 for one service from EC&S. We've used EC&S on some of the jobs that I'm on, so I had to ask that question. So that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the cap of what we would do for the year. So one project, they might come out for welding inspections, and that might be at let's say $10,000. The next thing that they come out for might be geotechnical for the parking lots or something like that, and it might cost us $30,000, but all that would add up, and we wouldn't go over the $250,000.
Correct. This is considered a task order contract award, so they would be smaller jobs that these vendors would be performing. You're correct.
So
And-
it could be under that, is that right?
Yeah. So each No, you're good. Each task that we would send out to them would be a certain dollar amount, not to exceed the annual limit of $250,000.
It's fascinating.
And then it's kind of the same for Smart Building Strategies LLC and SETI, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So do you want to go ahead and make some motions?
Oh, do we do that now? Yes. Okay. All right. So I would like to recommend that the contract award for commissioning. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I recommend to forward to the full board the contract award to ECS Mid-Atlantic LLC for geotechnical testing and inspection services for the estimated annual amount of $250,000.
Second. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next.
Should we do a roll call? I'm kidding.
So we just need one for the commissioning services as well.
Yep. So I would also, Mr. Chair, I would like to recommend to forward to the full board contract awards to Smart Building Strategies LLC primary and SETI and Associates Limited secondary for commissioning services for the estimated annual amount of $250,000.
Second. There's been a motion made. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay. Next, we are looking for a motion to forward to the full board the contract award to Combustioneer Corporation for the Apple Pie Ridge School Boiler Replacement in the amount of $250,897.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend to forward to the full board the contract award to Combustioneer Corporation for the Apple Pie Ridge School Boiler Replacement in the amount of $250,897.
Motion's been, and second. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion?
Sorry, I know it sounded like I was going to say something else.
It's all right. I do have one question on this is, will this take care of all the boiler issues out at Apple Pie once this is finished? I'm seeing a nod.
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry I didn't catch that.
All right. Motion been made, properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay. At this time, we are looking for a motion to move to the full board the contract award to Combustioneer Corporation for the Stonewall Elementary School Boiler Replacement Project in the amount of $384,063.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend to forward to the full board the contract award to Combustioneer Corporation for the Stonewall Elementary School Boiler Replacement in the amount of $384,063.
Second. Any questions, any discussion?
Same question, I guess, that Mr. Miles. Yes, you know what is this going to solve
Yes, it does.
And is this, how many boilers do each of these elementary schools have?
Most of them have two.
And so one's currently working and the other isn't, and that's why we're replacing it, or?
Correct.
I gotcha. Thank you.
All right. All right. Motion been made, properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay, at this time, we are looking for a motion to move to the full board the contract award to G.J. Hopkins Incorporated for the Sharando High School Boiler Replacement Project in the amount of $322,786.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I would like to recommend to forward to the full board the contract award to G.J. Hopkins, Inc. for the Sharando High School Boiler Replacement in the amount of $322,786.
Second. Motion been made, properly seconded. Any discussion?
Actually, I do have a question. With all these boilers that we're replacing, do we get any sort of recycling back for the ones that we are getting rid of, or does that go all to the company that's removing them?
Yeah, it goes all to the company. We don't see any of that.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question. So these boilers also, are we looking at cost savings for operational use then, compared to old ones? I mean, I would think we would as far as life cycle and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, these are going to definitely run more efficiently, so I think we'll see something. I don't know what that is in this meeting, but I'm sure we'll see something.
Understood. All right. Motion's been made, properly seconded. We've discussed it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes.
Okay, and at this time, we're looking for a motion to move to the full board the contract award to Combustion Air Corporation for the Bass Hoover Elementary School chiller replacement project in the amount of $527,100.
Mr. Chair, I would like to recommend to forward to the full board the contract award to Combustion Air Corporation for the Bass Hoover Elementary School chiller replacement in the amount of $527,100.
Second. Motion been made and properly seconded. Any discussion? All right. I have no questions about it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Hummer, at this time, that is the end of our presentation, so I turn it back over to you, and thank you and everyone here for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Thank you to your team, and thank you to Mr. Bell for sitting in. We all greatly appreciate that to move all these items forward. And with that, Mr. Chair, we've got to all of our items, and we'll open up if there's any other questions, sir.
All right. I wanted to go ahead and say thank you to Mr. Bell for pinch hitting today. Stepping up and helping us out. Do you have anything further?
Just thank you for doing what you do and for giving us the numbers and the information that we need and for the public and keeping our schools safe, heated, cold, and what have you for our students. It's really important. People don't really think about this side of the schools, and this is every bit as important as the education that occurs in the schools, because if it weren't for you, the schools wouldn't be habitable. So thank you so very much for the work that you all do.
All right. And finally, I got a chance to go out to the facilities, like I said earlier during the meeting, and see all the wonderful stuff that our staff out there does. Thank you, Mr. Davis, for taking us around. One of the things I did see out there, and Mr. Davis, if you want to come up and talk about this a little bit, it would probably go a long way. But we have a lot of items that are being stored over there that we've put out to sell that haven't sold, and now it's becoming overcrowded in the facilities warehouse. We've put it out a couple times publicly to sell, and it's not getting sold. Some of this stuff is old kitchen equipment that we've had over at James Wood, for instance, and there's other items out there that can be of use to other folks. With these recent hurricanes and stuff, I've asked Dr. Hummer to look into maybe seeing if we can find a nonprofit to donate these things to if we can't get them sold. So if there's no interest from the public to buy them, then I would look forward to easing the burden on folks that are going through hurricanes down in the south and seeing what we can do with that. So I appreciate all that. Is there any way you can go over what the process is for listing those items and selling those items? Because I know that if we can't sell them, we end up throwing them away, and that's taking away man hours where we're having to task somebody to take stuff apart so it gets recycled properly or whatever. And that time could be, spent, doing maintenance on the schools or taking care of all the other things that you guys do, snow plowing, for instance. If you could talk a little bit about that process to let the public know and what website that they could go on, say they did want to go buy some old desk or some kitchen equipment.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. And thanks for coming out. That was a great tour that we did. So when something comes from the school that's no longer needed at that school, it'll come back to the facilities building, and then we will ask the rest of the schools in the district saying, does anybody need this? Kitchen equipment, desk, anything like that. If we get no response from that email or communication, we go to a website. I believe the website is publicauction.com, but I'll double check that, but I think it's publicauction.com. We'll put everything out there on the website at least 2 times to try and sell it. We don't get anywhere near face value for this stuff on this website, but we do get something that we can put back into Frederick County Public Schools. If it does not sell over twice, chances are we're going to dispose of it at that point. So we do have a lot of stuff there. It's just, we'll try and do our best to get it out to the community the best we can, so.
So you're saying, so just so that I understand, that it's auctioned? It's not being sold, it's being auctioned, an online auction?
Correct.
I see.
Yeah.
Have we looked at any of the auction sites or auction houses that are local here in Frederick County?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I mean, I'm just wondering if that's something that we could or should do instead of, I mean, publicauction.com is huge.
It's nationwide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there would be shipping costs associated with it versus.
We won't pay that. We'll put that on
That would
the
be on,
buyer.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our goal is to get it out. We do get we get some good hits on it.
Okay.
We get people picking stuff up, but not everything. I mean, we have some pretty old stuff in there.
I'm assuming you don't put reserves on anything.
No.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Sure.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that concludes our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I knew I was up here for a reason. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn the Buildings and Ground Committee meeting for Monday, October 14th, 2024.
Second. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right. Motion passed. We are adjourned.